What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my channel. What I do here is I break down the occult sciences and I break them down to a practical level so that you can use them and apply them in your day-to-day life and get actual results with it simply by observing, okay? So without further ado, let me just give you a little bit of a context of who I am so you know who you're getting this information from. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in Kabbalah, and being the top and the bottom and the back side of the tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 archetypal tarot, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies and things in regards to astrology, okay? So once again, that's just to give you a context of who you're getting this information from. And the topic of today's video is simply going to be, you know, what is yin and yang exactly? What is positive and negative, and what is the importance? Okay? So we're really going to be diving into this, and we're going to dive into it in its like realist form, because, you know, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people that do not understand that dynamic of the true yin and yang, which essentially is the true positive and negative polarities or charges that are necessary to create power, right? Just like a battery. So, so that's what we're going to be going into in today's video. So if you want to know a little bit more about yin and yang and really understand it, this is your video, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's jump in. So let's go right into it, you know? Let me draw a context, because this is something that I see all the time, and you know, it's something that's like fun to believe in, but it's not based in reality and it's not true. So there's a lot of people that talk about, you know, positive thinking and positive this and positive that, and you know, you always gotta, you know, try to be happy or always try to think about something positive to essentially try to override your negative thoughts, right? And I'm not saying that being positive is wrong or it's bad. No, it's a part of your being, right? And your being knows, like your own personal being, who you are energetically in this moment, it knows what it needs to feel, because every single feeling, whether it's positive or negative, is essential for your own self-development and increasing your own energetic power, okay? Now, once again, we live in a world where a lot of people like to play this game of you got to think positive, you got to be positive, you know, you got to smile when you're not happy, things of that nature. And, you know, I want to say that is very unhealthy. Okay, it's very, very, very unhealthy, and what that does is it builds up, you could say, it builds up negative energy, the negative polarity of energy. It'll build that up in your subconscious and your unconscious mind. The more you try to override yourself, for example, if you truly are, look, if you're truly feeling sad, if you're truly feeling unsatisfied, if you're truly feeling depressed, if you're truly feeling anxiety, fear, loneliness, any of these things, there's a reason why you're feeling it. And I'm telling you right now, the most important thing you can do is feel it. Because when you go into it, into the emotion, when you actually embrace it and pull it into you, allow it to, you know, essentially inhabit your body, what you're now doing is you're now processing that emotion. It's not comfortable, right? It's way easier and it's more fun to say, I'm going to distract myself and I'm going to focus on positivity so that I don't look at this negative emotion or energy that's influencing me at the moment. It's way easier to just try to look for something positive and override it with positivity. But once again, what that's doing is actually way more damage than what you think. And this is, you know, there's a lot of gurus that claim to be gurus and claim to know what they're talking about that will tell you, think positive, think positive, think positive. And I'll explain what real positive thinking is. Like, what does that actually mean? But I first want to just make it clear that when you're overriding your negative emotions with positive emotions, then you're essentially not acknowledging your negative emotions. You're not acknowledging the yin, receptive aspect, feminine aspect of your own self, right? And that's dangerous because the more you override it with objectivity, spirit-driven, force-driven control, right? You're trying to control the way you feel by overriding your negative emotions with positive thoughts, right? That's how it is. So the more you try to override it, the more it actually builds up in your unconscious and in the subconscious, personal subconscious. So when that energy builds up, that negative energy that you're not acknowledging and not embracing, as it builds up in your unconscious and subconscious, guess what gets formed and gets really powerful? Your shadow. Okay, so when people talk about shadow work and your personal shadow, essentially what that means is that's a mix between your unconscious and your subconscious. It's a mix between the unconscious and your personal subconscious. And it's all the things that you didn't face. It's all the things you didn't embrace, you didn't deal with. And the more you override those negative aspects of yourself, the more powerful your shadow gets, the more agitated your subconscious and your unconscious mind gets, and then it literally will start to attack you. Your own subconscious and your own unconscious, your own shadow, will start to attack you, and it will manifest unfortunate events. And it will also it can very easily and oftentimes manifest diseases, illnesses, unhealthy relationships, all kinds of stuff. All from not embracing that negative side of your own being, that yin aspect, the darker charge of energy that is not comfortable, but is still a part of who you are in your totality. So that's what that does. That's what that leads to. So when it comes to positivity and negativity, we want to look at the yang and the yin, right? The yang is the positive, the yin is that negative. We want to look at it in a similar way to a battery, right? So when we use any tools that require a battery for the tool to function, we are not thinking that, oh, one side's negative and the other side's positive, I don't want to do it that way. We're not thinking that because we're like, all we're concerned about is getting the tool or the item the battery is going to be used for. All we're thinking about is getting the tool to work. Okay? It's the same thing with your own being. We have a negative aspect to our energy field. Okay? It's directly connected to your soul. And that is the feminine side of your being. It's your soul. It is negative. And to think that negative is bad, okay, to put an attachment to the word negative as bad is not a good thing to do. Because it's not bad at all. It's actually, get this, positive came from negative. Because the negative side of reality eventually comes down to the non-being. Okay? Add enough negatives and it's non-being. Okay? It becomes the nothing. Positive is the opposite. So in order for something to come out of the non-being, there first has to be the non-being. There has to be the negative before the positive. Literally. The same concept when it comes to light and darkness. There was no light if there wasn't darkness first. There could have been no light if there wasn't first darkness. Light literally came out of darkness. So the darker negative charge to our beings, our souls and our soul bodies, our lucid viewing bodies, these are some of the most powerful aspects of our being, okay? And the soul is, once again, the lucid viewing body, the ability to visualize your being traveling, whether it's through other dimensions or here on the physical plane, depending on how powerful you are. That lucid viewing body only gets developed when you're embracing your negative emotions, the negative aspects of yourself and of the world around you, which means being receptive and open to feeling and then processing those experiences and those feelings and emotions. That's literally what it means. And then that gives you the ability to use your lucid viewing body consciously. Now, the lucid viewing body that is not being dealt with, that is not being embraced, turns into the shadow body, where it's this part of you, it's part of your soul, right? It's part of your, you could say, other dimensional self. You could call it your astral self. It's an aspect of that. But when you're not integrating that darker aspect of yourself, that subconscious, unconscious aspect of yourself, if you're not embracing it like what I've been saying, then all you have is a shadow. All you have is a shadow body, because it's not known to you yet. It's not known to you, and it's not accessible to you until you open yourself up to then energetically let that negative polarity of your being wake up certain types of junk DNA. And that's just a fact, you know? So the shadow body can turn into the lucid viewing body, but it takes time and it takes practice and it takes, you know, embracing those negative emotions, energies in motion in your environment and within yourself. You know, as within, as without, as without, as within, as above, so below. So obviously it is uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable to deal with those negative polarities of our energetic being, because, you know, we don't like to feel that. It's not the best feeling, okay? But when it comes to achieving power within the self and gaining influence over the world around you, you have to embrace that level of pain. It's just a fact. If you don't want to embrace it, then just be okay with not having an ability to influence the world around you. You know, just be okay with not being a powerful person and being like, you know, the majority, right? Everybody else that's just kind of droning around. If that's the life you want, then that's the life you want. But, you know, I'm just saying that, like, if you want to really reach your highest potential, you need to embrace, and really not even just embrace, but acknowledge fully those darker aspects of yourself, as much as you acknowledge the positive aspects of yourself. But first and foremost, just recognize that there is no positive if there wasn't the negative foundation for the positive to come from. Everything came out of the non-being, the nothingness, and then there was the positive. Okay, so when it comes to like a lot of you know, different occult traditions, you know, a lot of them point back to the Dark Mother. You know, a lot of them point back to just before you get to the source of everything, you get to that Dark Mother. That is the nurturing mother of the non-being that then energetically influences you to recognize and embrace that full-on non-being within yourself. And once that solidifies, once you energetically get it and it can travel through you, then you can create the positive. Then you can create the kingdom. You can create your reality. But it all came from the non-being. So you can see if it's, you know, if you're doing it in reverse, if you're trying to control everything around you and you're trying to build your kingdom up, but you haven't yet embraced that darker feminine aspect of yourself, the nothingness aspect of yourself, if you haven't done that yet, then you are at a high probability of losing everything that you're creating if you have not dove into that darker aspect of yourself. Because you're building on a false foundation, which means that you could build an entire empire and work your ass off to build it, and all it takes is one little shift of consciousness, you could say, and then your entire empire will crash because you didn't have a real foundation based off proper energetic physics, energetic science, right? Like, you gotta know that. Like, the negative polarity is very important. And once again, the reason why I'm making this video is because that is one of the main things that is very misunderstood in our society. And obviously, it makes sense that it would be misunderstood, especially if there's people that have certain agendas for controlling the mass collective. So, yeah, that's what it comes down to. It is very important to recognize the yang actually came from the yin. And once you understand that, now you have a foundation. Now you can really balance yourself out, and you'll have that perfect balance of the positive charge and the negative charge, which creates power together. Okay, look, my phone is confirming that with me. Da-ding! Exactly. And the time on the phone says 12:08. If you add that up, that would go 8, 9, 10. So 12:08. So I take the 8, add 2, 9, 10, and then add 1, which is 11. 11 is the hidden sphere on the tree of life, and it's associated with death. It's called death. And in English translation, that can be connected to death, which has to do with ego death, which, if you know about ego deaths, they're uncomfortable. But what is that training? It's training that program of who you've been taught and led to believe you are to act in society around you. And an ego death is the burning away of that program, which is getting you closer to the non-being. Okay? And that's the negative polarity of our energetic beings. Every single one of us are like that. We all came from that darker side, and then we realized, okay, well, we can create positive on top of this. Okay, so in regards to Kabbalah, you would have the Sephiroth and then the Clip-Off. You would have Universe A and Universe B. And Universe A, Sephiroth, is literally the realm of illusions. It's very beneficial things that you want to experience, like all the fun, loving, great things, but at the end of the day, that's illusions. The truth is within your soul. It's the higher evolutionary reason, or I should even say deeper evolutionary reason of why you're here. You're here for a reason, every single one of us. Some are more aware than others, but that darker soul purpose is the actual reason why we're all here in the first place. And that's the key. And all that other stuff, like all the positive and the illusion aspects, are wonderful. They're great. But you can't have that. Look, my phone keeps confirming. You can't have that part first, that side first. You can't have that positive first if you haven't fully embraced that negative polarity and built your foundation from the non-being. Okay? So that's where I'm going to leave it. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up. Also hit the notification bell because I post videos as often as I can. And hit the subscribe button because I love to see my subscribers shoot through the roof. And if you would like to gain access to exclusive content, definitely check out my Patreon. The Patreon is going to be located in the YouTube description. It's the very first link. Okay, it says my Patreon right next to it. So what I have on my Patreon is tons of exclusive content. So for example, once again, I have a lot of exclusive content. Specifically, I break down all the spheres on the Kabbalistic tree. So if you want to know a little bit more about the tree itself, which is literally the backbone of occult initiation, then what I would recommend is joining my Patreon at Tier 2, because Tier 2 is going to give you access to all the information that I have on the Kabbalistic spheres, which includes all the symbolism of the spheres, the spirits associated with them, and my own personal experience having initiated through them myself. Okay? Very valuable information. So you'll gain access to that content and much more at Tier 2. In order to be a Tier 2, it costs $9.95. If you do the math, that would literally come out to less than $1 a day. So there truly is no reason why you shouldn't be able to afford that, especially with the value that I have on there. And that is just a promise from me to you. Okay? The next tier would be the Tier 3. Tier 3 is going to give you access to a magic training course where it's actual practical magic that you can start performing to start increasing your power. Okay, so that's something that's actually ongoing. So right now I have one video released for that, specifically diving right into necromancy, and I'm still in the process of uploading the next series of videos that we're going to be going into. So we're going to go into angel magic, demon magic, and then we're going to end with casting a low magic spell. Okay? So you'll gain access to that at Tier 3. Tier 3 is going to cost $25 a month. So if that's what you're interested in, check that out. Then there is tier 4, which is going to give you access to an actual service that I perform for you on the 29th of every month. That includes the 29th. And basically it is called the Vampire Service, which is a service where I completely change your energy body to be more so Universe B dominant, where you can literally perform magic from your intent and observation. So rather than pushing and giving energy to chaos, you're rather receiving and taking energy from chaos, increasing your power. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, I'm even going to have a video posted at the top that explains that top tier service, okay? And that will be $50 a month. So if that's what you're interested in, definitely check that out. With that being said, I would like to give a special shout out to the top tier members that have the service. All of their names are going to be mentioned in the parentheses right below the Patreon link, which is, it's turning to a lot of names. Like, I can only imagine in like a couple years from now, that list is going to be huge. But a huge shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I highly appreciate all of you specifically for taking your knowledge and your practices to that next level. That's always appreciated, and you know, it's an awesome thing. And then the next shout out I would like to give is to all of my Patreon members in general. I appreciate all of you. You're all awesome. I appreciate all of you for specifically taking your knowledge to that next level. You know, that's great. And then the third shout out I would like to say is to all of my YouTube subscribers for tuning into this content and, you know, allowing it to transform you if that's what you're here trying to do. Okay. So yeah, with that being said, now I would like to draw your awareness to the second link in the description. The second link in the description is going to say Square Appointments, and right there you can book your own tarot card reading with me. So far I've done about 100 tarot card readings for the time that I've had this service out, which isn't that long. And they've been going great. Basically what I do in that service is I can locate exactly where you are currently on the tree of life, which is extremely valuable. I personally do not know any other tarot card readers that can do this. So that's what I offer for that service. So if you want to take advantage of that, you can go to the second link below with Square Appointments and set up your own personal appointment. Okay? And then the next thing that I would like to draw your awareness to is the third link in the description. The third link is going to take you to where you can become a YouTube member, and then you'll gain access to exclusive badges. So one of the badges is going to be the moon, and then you're going to get access to exclusive emojis that I have ritualistically programmed into my YouTube membership that can actually be used for ritualistic purposes. So definitely look into that. I even talk about it on some of my other videos. But if that's something you're interested in joining, then you can check out the third link in my description. Okay? Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you. I think all of you are absolutely amazing and wonderful. And I hope you all have a wonderful and amazing rest of the day or night wherever you are. And I will see you on the next video. Peace.